Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Swas. Monday Night Football. We have two games with staggered start times here, 7 p.m. Eastern Time and 10 p.m. Eastern Time, which I like better, by the way. It gives us like 6 whole hours of football. I know that's inconvenient for some people who don't like to stay up that late, but for me, I like it. So staggered start times, 2 games on Monday night. As far as today's bets go, well, kind of a good news, bad news here. The good news is I've already clinched a winning day. I'm 3-1 right now, about to be 3-2 because I very seriously doubt the Commanders are going to come back. They're down 20 points in the fourth quarter. So about to be 3-2. I do have San Francisco later tonight, but my top bet was the Patriots-Titans over, which I bet a little bit heavier. So I've already clinched a profitable day. That's the good news. The bad news is I know a lot of people bet on the Saints and Chargers from the YouTube video, and so I didn't actually post those bets. So I had a profitable day, but I know a lot of people tailed those too. So a lot of people that tailed from the YouTube video may not have had a profitable day. So yeah, kind of a good news, bad news. It felt weird to celebrate a winning day, knowing that a lot of people that followed may not have had a winning day. So yeah, fun Sunday. The 4 p.m. slate was crazy. I mean, the Broncos just getting their asses kicked. The Packers getting dominated by Jacoby Brissett. Just craziness in the 4 p.m. slate. But yeah, we saw some good games. Actually, we probably didn't see that many good games, but still a fun day of watching football. Yeah. Monday Night Football, let's get into it.
I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points?
I would hope.
Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. First up, we got Bucs Lions in Detroit. This one was at 4.5. It's now up to 6, so it looks like we are seeing Lions money. This is a crazy game in terms of injury reports, though, so there might be some injury updates included in this movement. But at the time of recording, we're at 50K limits, sitting at a flat 6. All right, Bucs Lions, let's talk about it. Well, why don't we start off? Road dog Baker. We were talking about it when they played Seattle. Baker Mayfield, since joining the Tampa Bay Bucs, 12-3 against the spread as a road underdog, 8-7 outright. So not only does he cover at an extremely high rate, but he often wins the game outright. So all right, a little scary, laying points to Baker Mayfield as a road dog. But on the other side, we can't forget we're talking about Dan Campbell coming off a loss. Since 2022, Dan Campbell 12-4 against the spread, 12-4 straight up, coming off a loss as head coach of the Lions. And in addition to being 12-4 in the last 16, we're talking about 11 in a row. The last 11 Detroit Lions losses, 11-0 straight up, 11-0 against the spread in the following game. Now, obviously, that doesn't include week 1 this year. They lost the last game of last year. I don't think this includes like carryover from the previous season, but following a loss, 11 in a row for Dan Campbell. So how do you lay points to Baker Mayfield as a road dog? How do you fade Dan Campbell coming off a loss? So let's go ahead and get into this matchup. And as I'm sure you've heard, the lead story here, especially on this side of the ball, we're talking about the Bucs offense against the Lions defense. The lead story on this side of the ball is injuries. Holy hell. I'm not even sure which side is worse, to be honest. The Lions defense might even be worse than this. But we're starting with the Bucs offense. 2 pieces on the offensive line will be out. Godecki's been injured, though. That's not new. Cody Mauch, or however you say his name, the right guard, he's going to miss this one as well.
Real quick, so I kind of messed this one up. So Cody Mauch, he started the season at guard. He's been out since week 2. So he's still out, but that's not new. He's been out since week 2. The guy that's been playing in his spot is Luke Haggard, and now he's out as well. So they're down to their 3rd string at right guard. So I messed that up. Cody Mauch's been out. Luke Haggard is the backup right guard that just got hurt.
In terms of wide receivers, still no Jalen McMillan, no Chris Godwin. Ibuka and Mike Evans are both listed as questionable. We'll have to wait and see. Not sure if either of those guys are going to play. The Bucs better hope one of them plays, because if both those guys don't play, who's playing wide receiver for Tampa Bay in this one? And in addition to all that, there's no Bucky Irving. So yeah, significant amount of injuries here to this Tampa Bay offense. But when we flip it over to the other side, it's almost just as ugly. Pretty much the entire starting secondary for the Lions is going to miss this game. Terrion Arnold is out. Kirby Joseph is out. Brian Branch is out. DJ Reed is out. Marcus Davenport's out. But him and DJ Reed have been out. That's not new. Now, there is some good news for the Lions on the defensive side of the ball. Now, DJ Reader, he's listed as questionable. He's been playing. McNeil hasn't played all year. So the Lions might have their 2 elite defensive tackles, Reader and McNeil, both on the field. They've both been participating in practice, too. If both those guys play, this will actually be the first time both of them have been on the field at the same time all season, which leads me to believe that I don't think Tampa Bay is going to be able to run the ball in this game. I mean, the Bucs have been struggling to run the ball all year. If you remember last year, the Bucs out of nowhere had a top 5 run game with Bucky Irving, but this year Bucky Irving's been hurt. He's not going to play in this game. They're missing 2 starters on the offensive line. The Lions might have their 2 star defensive tackles on the field for the first time this season, and the Lions have been playing great defense. I mean, great defense, period, but great defense against the run as well. 12th in success rate per rush, 7th in EPA per rush, which means all the pressure is on Baker Mayfield to move the ball for this Bucs team, because like I said, very seriously doubt the Bucs are going to be able to run the ball in this one. The good news is Baker Mayfield has been on an absolute rampage. Here are his numbers for the first 4 games of the year. Not that these are bad, but they're certainly not great. He was under a lot of pressure. 95.8 passer rating, 226 passing yards per game. You flip it over to the last 2 games, and this dude has been essentially perfect. In his last 2 games, he's got a 136.9 passer rating. Over 317 passing yards per game. The Bucs wide receivers have been injured, and Baker Mayfield has picked up the slack. He's playing out of his mind right now. So in terms of trying to figure out if we like this matchup for Baker Mayfield, it's tough. We've already established he's probably not going to have run support, but he's pretty much been operating this whole year without run support. They haven't been able to run the ball. So in terms of the Lions coverage here, now the Lions are a defense that tend to run a lot of man coverage. They're 6th in man coverage frequency, 7th in single high safety frequency, which would be a good matchup against Baker Mayfield. He's got considerably better numbers against zone coverage and 2 high safeties. The wrench that's kind of thrown into this is the Lions secondary. All right, you're going to come out and run man coverage with who? I mean, Robertson, the one corner he's playing, he's going to cover Mike Evans? And that's another question. Is Mike Evans playing? I mean, if the Lions are able to run man coverage and the Bucs wide receivers are out, I think they could have some success doing it. But if Mike Evans and Ibuka end up playing, who's covering those guys? The Lions might not be able to run the same type of man coverage they usually run. So looking at a graphic like this, trying to take a look at the Lions' coverages against Baker, it's tough without knowing if Mike Evans and Ibuka are going to play. Now, one thing I don't like for Baker Mayfield in this matchup is Baker Mayfield is not a dink and dunk quarterback. The reason I'm bringing that up is that's what the Lions have struggled with. They're actually 31st in the NFL in passer rating allowed via the short pass. Well, Baker Mayfield doesn't throw a lot of short passes, 35.4% frequency. That's how frequently he throws short passes. That's not a lot at all. The Lions have struggled with dink and dunk passes, dink and dunk quarterbacks. That's not Baker. Baker Mayfield likes to throw the ball downfield. I'm not saying that means the Lions defense with a thin secondary can stop Baker Mayfield. I'm just saying I don't like that. I don't like how Baker Mayfield's not a dink and dunk quarterback. And his passing efficiency numbers underneath on the intermediate throws, on the short throws, they're not that impressive. His passer rating throwing the ball downfield is excellent. As a whole on this side of the ball, it's tough to envision Baker Mayfield getting completely shut down, especially with a thin secondary there for Detroit. But he's going to have absolutely no run support in this one. And honestly, I really don't think Baker Mayfield can continue to operate at this level. He's been playing so out of his mind the last couple weeks. If you remember earlier in the year, he was putting the ball in harm's way. I could see him throwing a bad interception or 2 in this game. The Lions defense has also played significantly better at home so far this year. In their home games, they're allowing 15.5 points per game, 5.2 yards per play, 35.6% success rate. Yes, they played Cleveland and Chicago, but Bears offense looks pretty good, number one. And even what the Bears did against the Lions, they scored a couple touchdowns in garbage time of that game. So the Lions have actually been lights out defensively at home so far this year. If you look at their numbers on the road, they haven't played nearly the same level of defense. So this Lions defense has been really good at home. Baker with no run support. I think the Lions defense can play okay in this game. Again, they're not going to shut Baker Mayfield down, but I think the Lions defense can make some stops, even with some injuries to the secondary. Now, on the other side of the ball, we got the Lions offense, and right off the bat, we know running the ball is going to be tough. We know Dan Campbell wants to run the ball, and we know they're playing Todd Bowles' defense, which, as long as the Bucs' defensive front seven is healthy, you know the Bucs are going to be solid against the run. They've been one of the best run defenses in the NFL so far this year. 4th in success rate per rush, 1st in EPA per rush. So right off the bat, all right, this might be a tough matchup. Todd Bowles might be able to take away what Dan Campbell wants to do offensively. I got to say, though, the Bucs' run defense hasn't looked nearly as sharp in their last couple games. 4.5 yards per carry, over 40% success rate per rush. Not that these numbers are necessarily terrible, but it looks like they were playing significantly better defense against the run earlier in the season. In the last 2 games, actually in the last 2 games, the Bucs defense kind of got lit up against the Seahawks and 49ers. In those 2 games, 7.6 yards per play. Sam Darnold was piecing him up through the air. Even Mac Jones was making throws on him. So this Bucs defense has looked pretty suspect in back-to-back games here. And we were talking about how Baker Mayfield has been on a rampage. Well, what about Jared Goff? Look at his last 2 games. Passer rating over 135. This is against Cincinnati and Kansas City. And personally, I still think Detroit can run the ball in this game. I mean, stopping the Lions from running the ball on the road at Ford Field, especially the Lions coming off a loss, it's tough. I mean, there's been a lot of defenses, strong run defenses, that have gone into Ford Field and struggled to stop the run. I still think the Lions are going to be able to run the ball. Jared Goff has been on a bit of a heater himself. We know Todd Bowles is going to be sending blitz packages because that's what Todd Bowles does. Well, Jared Goff's actually been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL when blitzed. 129.4 passer rating against the blitz so far this year. In fact, only Drake May and Lamar Jackson have better numbers against the blitz than Jared Goff this year. So Jared Goff, the way he's playing at home, indoors, at Ford Field, where he always seems to play better, yeah, I think the Lions can run the ball. I've never been the biggest fan of this Bucs secondary. Yes, it helps that Jamel Dean is healthy. He was banged up there last week or 2 weeks ago, but I've never been the biggest fan of this Bucs secondary. I think the Lions can move the ball. Now, the reason I'm a little hesitant to play on the over, I'm looking at the pace. Now, first of all, the Lions are 31st in pace in terms of seconds between snaps this year. They have run a faster pace at home, like 1.8 seconds quicker, which is actually significantly quicker. That would move them from dead last to like 18th in pace. So they have moved at a quicker pace at home so far this year. It's only been 2 games, so maybe we take that with a grain of salt. Bucs don't move at a particularly quick pace either. I do think we're going to see points, but 53.5, 52.5 is a pretty big number if we might see a slower pace. I do think the Lions are going to be able to score. I think the Lions offense should have a good game. I'm leaning towards the Detroit side, but how the hell do you lay 6? I see a juice 5.5, but how the hell do you lay a big number to Baker Mayfield as a road dog? How do you do it? I lean towards the Lions. I think the Lions are able to score. Lean towards the over, but full disclosure, I don't have a bet on this game. I'll place one of my fun SGPs. If you're in the group, you know I place a fun SGP for most of the NFL primetime games. So I'll probably do something like that. I don't have a bet on the game. I lean towards Lions, lean towards over, but nothing for me. Houston's on the road in Seattle. Now, this graphic makes it look like the line has moved up to 3.5. It's still at 3. This is a reflection of Pinnacle, and Pinnacle has a juice 3.5 up. It's pretty much 3 everywhere. We're up to 50K limits, and we're looking at a strong 3, slightly juiced towards the Seattle side. So Houston, Seattle, let's talk about it. This Houston Texans team, coming into this one with some momentum. Now, they just had the bye week. Remember, they're coming off a bye week. Before the bye week, back-to-back blowout wins, 26-0 and 44-10. Now, I don't know how much credit we're going to give this Texans team for beating up pretty much on the Ravens' complete second unit on both sides of the ball. Remember, that was before Kyle Hamilton came back. The entire defense was out. Cooper Rush at quarterback. So, I don't know how much credit we're giving the Texans for beating up on the Ravens' second unit, the Ravens practice squad, and then beating up on Cam Ward and the Titans at home. But still, Houston coming into this one with some momentum. Back-to-back comfortable wins. This is obviously a very, very different situation for Houston going on the road to see a very tough Seattle defense. 8th in the NFL in success rate, 13th in EPA per play. Can we count on the Texans to move the ball against one of the best defenses in the NFL? And we're talking about a Seahawks defense that's actually healthier. Now, it's not confirmed, but it looks like we're going to get Julian Love, Devon Witherspoon, and Reek Woolen all back. Reek Woolen will definitely be back. The other 2 still listed as questionable, but both of them are practicing. These are the 3 most important players in this secondary, and honestly, they're 3 of the most important pieces in the entire defense. So not only has Seattle's defense been great, but they should be much healthier in this one. And, I mean, can we count on Houston to run the ball in this game? They haven't been able to run the ball all year. That's number 1. Number 2, no one's really been able to run the ball in Seattle this year, especially on the road in Seattle. In their home games, they're allowing 3.06 yards per carry, 33.2% success rate per rush, 85.7 rush yards per game. So this Seahawks run defense has been lights out, period. They've been especially good at home, and Houston hasn't really been able to run the ball. So right off the bat, very seriously doubt CJ Stroud's going to have run support in this game. On top of that, we know this Seahawks pass rush is most likely going to be a problem. The Seattle defense is able to generate consistent pressure without sending extra rushers. CJ Stroud is a guy that really needs a clean pocket to operate. He has struggled under pressure, not just this year, that's last year as well. He's got a 53.3 passer rating when pressured so far this year, 5.1 yards per pass attempt. So no run support, probably not going to have a ton clean pockets to throw from. Not off to the best start here for CJ Stroud, but it actually gets worse because this one, like we said before, is on the road in Seattle. Now, let's give CJ Stroud some credit. He did play a great game on the road in Baltimore against the Ravens' backup defense, but his first 2 road starts of the season were definitely shaky. That was against the Rams and Jags, 70.2 passer rating in those 2 games, and this has been the case with CJ Stroud over the course of his career. He's been much better at home in Houston. He's pretty much struggled on the road his entire career. Now, there are some positives here for the Texans offense, so if you plan on betting Houston, I do have something for you. Number 1, they've got a healthy offensive line, which is huge at this point in the season, have a healthy offensive line. Number 2, like I said before, they are coming off a bye week, so they've had an extra week to prepare for this Seahawks defense, which is obviously huge as well. Even with that, I still don't know if I can fully trust this offense to move the ball on the road against the Seattle defense, a Seattle defense that's probably going to be healthier. So I definitely have concerns for CJ Stroud in this Texans offense. But on the other side of the ball, this is where I actually like the matchup for Houston. So this Houston defense is obviously great, also coming off a bye, obviously, just like the offense. This is going to be quite the matchup on this side because Sam Darnold's playing out of his mind right now. In fact, on paper, the Seahawks have been the most efficient passing attack in the NFL. First in success rate per dropback, first in EPA per rush. Against Houston, who has one of the best pass defenses in the NFL. This is quite the battle on this side. The Houston pass rush has been elite. Just like the Seattle pass rush, they're able to generate consistent pressure. They're 7th in time to pressure, 5th in pressure rate, and they're able to do so without sending extra rushers. Here's the thing. Sam Darnold's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at handling pressure so far this year. 86.5 passer rating under pressure, 7.5 yards per attempt, a 0% turnover-worthy play rate under pressure. It's truly nuts how well Sam Darnold has played this year and how well he's handled adversity. He's been great under pressure. He's also got solid numbers against the blitz. Look at Sam Darnold's numbers from his last 4 games. He's got a passer rating over 130, been almost perfect from a clean pocket, 274 passing yards per game. He's actually seen some pressure in that time too. It's not like he's been kept clean. It's actually seen a decent amount of pressure. He's handled it really well. Sam Darnold is playing as well as any quarterback in the NFL right now. Throw his name in with Drake May. Throw his name in with Baker Mayfield. I mean, he's been that good. That being said, you look at Sam Darnold's numbers from the last 4 games. That's the graphic we have up on the screen. Look at the defenses. Some shaky secondaries on this list. Now, Arizona's defensive front has played pretty well. The Bucs have an elite run defense, but in terms of secondaries, the Cardinals, the Bucs, the Saints, the Jags, we at least have to acknowledge the fact that he's played 4 consecutive games against shaky secondaries. Houston's is not. In fact, Houston's got elite numbers against the pass. Look at their last 3 games. They're allowing just 6 yards per pass attempt, an average opponent pass rating of 50, just 169.7 passing yards allowed per game. Now, just like we were pointing out the shaky secondaries for Sam Darnold, though, what quarterbacks has Houston seen? I mean, Trevor Lawrence, Cam Ward, Cooper Rush, they haven't exactly seen Pro Bowlers in terms of quarterback competition. No, but to give Houston some credit, they actually played Baker Mayfield in the game before these 3, and they played great defense against Baker in that one. If you remember, I mean, Houston controlled the entire game. They should have won. Remember, Baker Mayfield had that scramble on 4th and long, and he kind of did it with his legs at the end to win. The Bucs found a way to win the game, but Baker Mayfield was not piecing this Houston secondary up. This Houston defense has been very good. They're pretty much healthy with the exception of Jimmy Ward, who's been out all year. They're rested. They're coming off a bye week. I think we could possibly see Sam Darnold struggle for the first time in a while. I like Houston play a great defensive game here. Problem is I just can't trust them to score, so really hesitant to take that +3. The Texans have run a really slow pace this year, 32nd. They're actually the slowest paced team in the NFL. So maybe I could be considering an under here. It's down at 41.5. I don't have bets on either of these games. If I can get a 3.5, I'll say Houston. Give me Texans +3. I don't think you can get a 3.5 right now. Yeah, I mean, Maybe if I can get a 3.5, I'll play on Houston. Give me Houston and under. Maybe I'll take Houston +3 and under 41.5, a half unit each, just to place a bet on the game to make it interesting. But I honestly think 3 is about perfect. So yeah, under would be my pick for the game, slight lean towards Houston. But to be honest, I've already got a profitable week clinched. I don't really like either of these games, so I'm just going to chill. I don't think I'm going to post any NFL bets on the website for these. So yeah, let's have ourselves a good Monday night. Thanks for watching. Remember to bet responsibly. Talk to you all tomorrow.